The House is slated to vote on a budget resolution later today, meaning that sets up the reconciliation process. Now, the Senate has already moved forward. What does the prospects look like for success in the near future? Joining me now to discuss this, South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. He's the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee. Senator Graham, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Tony, very much.
All right, so you moved forward last week while the House was out with a Senate budget resolution. The House moving forward today. Yours calls for a two-step process. Theirs is the one big, beautiful bill.
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Well, I hope they can pass the one big, beautiful bill today in the House. President Trump wants the tax cuts of 2017 to be permanent. So do I. That's good for the economy. The House bill has 8 years, and you have to do it all over again. So if they pass the bill that's before the House, it will not pass the Senate without changes, but that's okay. If it passes today, send it to the Senate, and we will change it in a way to make it more compliant with President Trump's vision of the tax cuts. Current policy versus current law is a very boring conversation. I will not have it with you. But current policy allows the tax cuts to be permanent. Right now, they're due to expire in 8 years. We want to do tax on tips. We want to deal with tax on Social Security. The House bill doesn't allow you to do that, so we'll create more room in the Senate for additional tax cuts. But I applaud Mike Johnson for getting the bill this far. If they pass it in the House, it'll come to the Senate, we'll change it, then we'll have a conference. If they don't pass it, I think our bill will become center stage. The Border Patrol is running out of money in weeks. Tom Holdman, the border czar, came up here 2 weeks ago begging for money to maintain the momentum of deporting people, finish the wall, and create detention space so you don't have to release people. Our bill has $175 billion for border security. That's all the president needs for 4 years. Our bill has $150 billion for the military that's under siege, quite frankly, and $20 billion for the Coast Guard. We would do our bill first if the House fails, get that done, secure our border, and in the spring or summer do taxes. But if Mike Johnson can deliver on the one big bill, it will come to the Senate, we'll change it, and hopefully have a conference on it.
And that's the process. And if you get it through the House this time, this bill goes through, actually
Right.
Coming out of conference makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we'll want to do some things on taxes they didn't do. We'll see if we can find a common ground there. But Mike Johnson's dealing with a one-vote majority. I've always preferred one bill. The bill would be border security, money for the military, tax cuts, and reducing spending. What I worry about is that this is the best chance we'll have in a long time to do things without Democratic votes. Reconciliation was used to pass Obamacare. Reconciliation was used by Democrats to pass the Green New Deal. When you have the House, the Senate, and the White House, you can, through the budget process, pass legislation based on a simple majority in the Senate. We have 53 Republicans. In the last 100 years, Tony, Republicans have had the House, the Senate, and the White House 4 times in 100 years. This is a gift from God politically. We need to get this done. Passing a border security bill for President Trump without one Democrat vote needed is literally a gift from God. Being able to get money into the Defense Department without having to increase spending in other places to get Democrat votes is a true gift. Making the tax cuts permanent and cutting spending without needing any Democrats, we cannot fail. We cannot let this moment pass.
Yes, it is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. All right, Senator Graham, I want to shift gears. You've got a big portfolio. We're talking budget, but I want to talk about something you and I talk about a lot. That's foreign policy. I want to address the issue first of Ukraine and Russia. The president is saying that Ukraine was the aggressor here. Once this issue resolved, I mean, you and I have talked about this quite a bit. Your take on what's unfolding there between Ukraine and Russia?
I think, number one, Putin was the aggressor, not Ukraine. But having said that, President Trump's the only guy I know of that can end this war honorably and justly. There have been hundreds of thousands of people killed and injured on both sides. Putin invaded Ukraine, I think, for a couple reasons. Ukraine is the richest country on the continent of Europe when it comes to critical minerals, about $7 trillion. That's why Putin wants to take Ukraine for the money. He wants to reconstruct the old Soviet Union, Russian Empire. Those are ambitions he has. What will President Trump do? I'm hoping in the next week, Tony, President Trump will do a deal with Ukraine in the areas of critical minerals. These are sort of the oil of the 21st century for AI development and high-tech development. Ukraine is literally the richest country in Europe. They're sitting on trillions of dollars worth of critical minerals. If President Trump can pull this off, doing a deal with Ukraine and the United States regarding partnering in the critical mineral space, that gives us something to defend. We'll have an economic interest we've never had before. It makes Ukraine very valuable. The goal is to make sure we don't have a third invasion. Now, how do you avoid that? If we have economic interest in Ukraine, it makes it less likely Russia will invade because they'd be hitting American companies. We need to keep helping the Ukraine militarily by selling them, not giving them weapons. They're the most lethal army on the continent of Europe, and I want to make them stronger over the next decade by buying American weapons, which is good for our economy. And we need European troops, not American troops, on the ground policing the ceasefire area as a tripwire. If we do those three things, Putin won't invade again, and we will not only get our money back from Ukraine, but make money and have a new relationship with Ukraine. And only President Trump can do this.
All right. President Zelensky has offered to step down. If
Yes.
He said, I'll walk away from this if we will ensure peace and the integrity of Ukraine and its borders. Is that reasonable?
By being admitted to NATO. President Trump is going to get a good deal for Ukraine, but he's not out to humiliate Putin. Putting Ukraine in NATO now, I think, would probably be a bridge too far. My idea is if they ever invade Ukraine again, Ukraine automatically goes into NATO. let Russia decide if Ukraine's in NATO and let it be a tripwire. But the bottom line for me is that this war needs to end. We can't reward aggression because China will take Taiwan.
Right.
But President Trump is the best guy to bring peace and to end this conflict because Putin's afraid of it. Biden never could deter Putin or anybody else. Putin literally does not want to cross Trump. And Zelensky has led, I think, very bravely for the last 3 years. His country was massively invaded. We were told they would last 3 weeks, and they're still standing. But he needs to understand, quite frankly, this war needs to come to an end.
Yes.
And the best way to end this war is to have a business partnership with the United States. I hope Zelensky gets that.
You talked about Biden and his leadership on the international stage. I mean, I would think that our disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan was an
100%.
invitation for Russia to make their invasion of Ukraine. I'm actually surprised China didn't invade Taiwan already. But to your point about rewarding aggressors, what does that mean when it comes to the border and the land that Russia has taken from Ukraine?
Okay, there will be eventually some kind of land swap here. Stop the fighting, get a ceasefire, and do a deal that prevents a third invasion. Ukraine will decide what they can accept, and there will be a negotiation. And the only way you're going to get a successful outcome is if Russia does not invade again and they're deterred. I don't know how the land swap will wind up ending, but there will probably be one. My goal is to make sure that Ukraine is a sovereign, independent, democratic nation when this war is over, and that China will be less likely to invade Taiwan, and Iran is watching. So I want this war in Ukraine to end, and I believe President Trump is the right guy to do it. But of all the things we talk about on a regular basis, it's not Russia or Ukraine that keeps me up at night. It is the Ayatollah, who's a religious Nazi, having a nuclear weapon, because I think he would use it against Israel to wipe them off the map, and he's way too close.
We've got 2 minutes left. Let's talk about that because Iran has their forces on high alert, concerned that Israel may be making a move on their nuclear sites. Are they right to be concerned?
I am hoping that President Trump will give assistance to Israel if they decide to attack the Iran nuclear program. Iran is exposed. They've never been this weak. They're religious Nazis. If they had a weapon, they would use it in furtherance of their theology, which is to purify Islam, make everybody a Shiite like them, take Saudi Arabia down, kill all the Jews, and drive us out. Israel is ready to go. President Trump, give Israel the green light, help them degrade the Iranian nuclear program, then talk to the Arabs about peace.
How big of a game changer would that be in the Middle East?
Night versus day.
Big. Absolutely big. I mean, we thought Syria and the fall of Assad was big. This would be seismic.
This is the biggest thing will happen in our lifetime for the future of Israel and the stability of the region. If we neutralize, if we continue to weaken Iran, Lebanon will come our way, Syria will come our way. If Iran gets stronger, they'll rearm, and God help Israel. This is the moment. This is the time.
All right. We got to leave it there. Senator Lindsey Graham, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much for joining us today.